So hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the session. So today we're gonna introduce myself. My name is Berceli. I am a integrative somatic coach, somatic emotional trauma therapist, and I use different sessions, different modalities, and I will go through a little bit about me and also what I use, and especially the idea is to introduce a program embodying your resiliency, which is a blend of different things that I do, but specifically a technique called TRE. So you let me know if you don't understand anything, if I go too fast, if I go too slow, or you give a sign or interrupt me if that's okay for you. All right. So yeah, so first of all, let's take some time to acknowledge that you're here. Sometimes it seems a minor thing, but you're taking a step further towards building resiliency, towards creating more flexibility in your system. You might be doing anything on Saturday morning, and you decided to step in and have some time for you out of curiosity, out of many different things that you might be living today. Yeah, so take some time to sense that and honor that in your body as much as you can, and see what body and mind tells you about that. You know, oftentimes we don't take the time to pause and sense the achievements that we do in life, and we go from one thing to the next without having that time. So just take some time to see that, and see the picture, and just honor that. Okay, so who I am, starting with me. Yeah, so I am, as I mentioned, I'm Fabrizio Carrizales. I'm Venezuelan. I'm living in Belgium, Brussels, since 2001. So I'm a somatic trauma therapist and coach. I use several modalities, and TRE is one of them. The base of my practice is somatic experiencing, somatic therapy, the somatic principles, but I also specialize in various developmental trauma methodologies, which are somehow created by people who also are somatic experiencing practitioners. So the base of my practice is somatic experiencing, and I specialize in childhood trauma, call it developmental trauma, complex trauma. And so the way I practice, I blend all this in the way I work. Okay. Additionally, I'm a practitioner of a musical therapeutical intervention, and this is created by Dr. Stephen Porges. I will speak a little bit about that for the Polyvagal Theory. And one is called Safe and Sound Protocol, and the other one is Rest and Restore Protocol, which was launched this year only. All right. So yeah, so how do I work? So I basically the principle of the way I work is that we're a whole individual. So the word holistic comes from whole. So we're a whole thing, and we have this obsession humans to divide things, and we create this body and mind separation, for example. And I would use specifically a way to speak that speaks about body and mind, but in fact, there's no such division. I mean, we're one entity together, and there's not only the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, the energetical body, if you want to call it like that as well. And in the same way, there's no separation between who we are here. So I mean, I have 4 beautiful souls in front of me, and we are complete. We are showing up in our life in different aspects, different facade, but in fact, we are the same. So when we work into therapy, we would see how our patterns, our different things show up almost identical in different aspects of our life, but maybe with a different facade. So we are a whole thing, and that's what we want to somehow to connect to, and also to honor that there are different parts of us which might not be talking to each other today in a very nicely way, or things that we suppress or we don't want them to be there. So all of this is part of the work that I do. And so I integrate, specifically I integrate so body, which is basically sensing, touch, self-touch, or I would touch the client, some movements, some table work, with conversation, always through the lenses of trauma and nervous system. So the basis, as I mentioned, is somatic experiencing, and enriched by the lenses of understanding the attachment dynamics, the developmental trauma dynamics, and what we call the survival strategies that today they are present, and typically they create certain blockages and certain distortions in our relational dynamics towards the world, in relationship, and towards ourselves, which is through our identity. Okay. So I practice one-on-one. So the majority of my practice today is one-on-one. There was a time I was doing more work groups. I'm doing less groups and more one-on-one. But I also do workshops and programs like this, Embodying Your Resilience, in which we try to blend different things and give tools to people, but also, to be honest now, it's like an excuse to start working ourselves and to have tools to go deeper than the typical narrative that we have. Okay, I work mainly with, I work with adults, mainly, executive people who are, workers and expat, typically high performers, people go. The people which are very perfectionist. Another public that I also work with are gifted or highly sensitive people, and LGBTQ public. All right. So that's it for now. And as we want to, slow down and land here in body and mind. So that was a quick and dense part. So I'm gonna just invite you to land here. So I'm gonna stop the video, and we will be together. And just see if we can land here and start a little practice together. And you can do it just and engage as much as you want. But yeah, just give yourself a moment to be here, to watch the screen, but also just have some time to look at your room. Perhaps you know this room very well. Perhaps it's something that is not habitual for you. If there are windows, if there are landscapes, just see how you relate to that. Also, it's a sunny day, so maybe there's some sun that you're not really used to see when you're there. And as you are, sensing that, I would invite you to start paying attention to your feet, and then pushing the feet so that you can, as you push the feet, you feel your back. So sensing how you can push the feet on the floor and sensing the back as you do that. Then you can lower your gaze and or close your eyes as what is more comfortable for you. And then start sensing the sounds around. If there are cars, if there's some machines around, if there are birds, see how you can relate to the sounds around you, the exterior sounds. Kids, neighbors, traffic. And then you can focus now on the inside noises. Perhaps the cracking of the house or the neighbors around. And then if you can, just see if you can explore the inner sound like this, the breath, whatever sound that is more inner to your body. And now you can sense point of contact. So you have the feet, you have the buttocks. If you're sitting, I guess you're sitting, and then the back. Sensing those point of contact as you go to this surface, and the surface go to you. The surfaces go to you, and they hold you. See if you can, from that place, connect to your legs, your knees, your pelvis. See if you can sense the belly, the chest. And see if you can track the breath. Where is the breath most noticeable? It's the throat, the belly, the chest, the nostrils. And we don't want to create something or to change anything, just simply noticing what is already there. Perhaps you start sensing your heart that is pounding, or the breath that is short, or the breath that is relaxed. Perhaps there's some thoughts coming in. What am I doing here? Or the sense of relaxing, or the sense of running. And without needing to do anything with that, just acknowledge and notice what body and mind are telling you at this very moment. Yeah, and wherever you are at now, and see how, if you wonder yourself, and I would like to propose to connect to what am I doing here? What is my intention to come here to this workshop? And see immediately how your body and your mind reacted to that. The mind's telling you plenty of stories, perhaps racing to find a nice answer, or simply blank, I don't know. And at the same time, we can just put that aside lightly and gently and see how the body reacted. Is the body tense, or crawling, collapsing, or agitated? And perhaps wherever you are at, now noticing what is my intention to come here? What is really my intention? What am I longing for? And the mind starts again finding answers, racing, creating stories. And perhaps some words came. Noticing the words, noticing the stories, noticing the image, the film. And going back to body and see how is body doing with that question? What's happening? How is the chest doing? How is the belly doing? How is the heart doing? How is your back? How are their shoulders? The jaw? Knowing that there's no good or right answer, and simply be with whatever manifests, which is in the body and the mind and your mental, your physical, your emotional body. See if we can start reconnecting to the point of contact, and perhaps again pushing a little bit the floor with the feet, sensing the back, sensing the buttocks, and sensing those boundaries of our body and the exterior walls. Noticing the breath, noticing the sounds in the room, noticing the sounds outside. And perhaps starting moving your fingers, your toes, without opening the eyes, just moving the fingers, the toes, the wrists, the elbows. And gently, before engaging with the screen, opening the eyes and exploring again the place where you are. And as you do that, just sense your eyeballs, sense your neck, watching around and see, oh, I haven't seen this for a while, if it's a known place or if this is new. And then when you're ready, slowly, you can start coming back to the screen and to the group. Okay. So, yeah, so oftentimes we do, and we know many things about ourselves, but then no matter how much we know, we keep on repeating certain patterns that became both emotional and behavioral. Even though we know things continue to happen, we are triggered in the same way, we catch ourselves doing the same thing. And the thing that is all this, so one part of the work that we do is those patterns or blockages, whatever you want to call it, they served a purpose. They were there for a reason, and a good reason. If they were meant, they were created at a certain time, that was our best attempt to protect us, to defend us, to adapt. So we speak about, from developmental trauma point of view, we speak about survival strategies, adaptations. So one part of that, which is funny because we want to go in therapy, is to get rid of stuff. And that's one of the work that we want to invite our system to start playing with the idea instead of getting rid of, to see if we have other options and honor that part of us. In IFS, I don't know if you know, any of you know IFS, Internal Family System, they speak about parts and how these parts are called explicitly protectors. So that's one part. And as I said, those are survival strategies, survival adaptations. And these survival adaptations are literally written, it's like a software written in our mind that is also in our subconscious mind, because we don't do that on purpose, but also in our body, in our tissues, in our organs, muscles, fascia, even into the cellular level. When we're speaking about peri and prenatal trauma. And of course, in the nervous system, which is the part that orchestrates, let's say, running on the background. So these responses, these responses have their origin in physiology, and those, this is related with something that is happened to us and is still related in our physiology. So this is all what I mentioned, that it's not about getting rid of, but just acknowledging and knowing that we can eventually update those strategies, because they serve the purpose, but they may not serve the purpose anymore, or at least not in all contexts that we use it today unconsciously. So where this is the time, a little bit of marketing, then, to start looking at the at the body, at the bottom up. So things that goes, from the unconscious, and the unconscious is not just a mind. We think about always a mind as an abstract thing, but it's really physiology. 80% of the information comes from afferent afferent neurons, which are going up, not down. 20% is only what we can, command, and that's we're missing a lot of information and experience without that, without the body and the emotions. So yeah, what modalities I blend? So this is not a modality, well, although Debdana, I'm also training Debdana's work, but this is more like the baseline of all the practices. Is the Polyvagal Theory, it's the understanding of the autonomic nervous system, the role of autonomic system in terms of how we are wired and how we work in terms of survival, in terms of safety, and in terms of connection. So Porges is a theory, but let's say is the base, the scientific base of all the therapies, divided the nervous system not only in sympathetic and parasympathetic, as we knew before, and even like doctors, they come to my practice, they only know that, but they were divided in three. And we know that the vagus nerve, and you may know now already with the bunch of things on the internet about the vagus nerve and biohacking. The vagus nerve is the highway of communication between the brain and the different organs for our autonomic system. So autonomic things are the breath, the heart rate, the immune system, everything that is outside our digestion, heart rate. So everything that is outside our consciousness. You cannot. Well, you can try to say to the heart, okay, stop or slow down, and I will be 200% sure that it will go faster. Or you cannot say to your gut, okay, do better. I'm having bloating, so please do something with that. You can control the breath, but only a little bit. I mean, you cannot control it like 100% of the time, and that we'll see in the program, as this is like a portal toward the nervous system, vagus nerve. So he introduced the concept of neuroception. So we are constantly scanning for danger. So we are tuned to danger as humans and as mammals, and also safety. So we are constantly attuned to sensing what is dangerous and what is not dangerous. He also coined the term interoception, which means our sensations, how we connect the processes inside out and inside us, and how we can feel them inside them. And we have the other concept, which is proprioception, which is how we see ourselves, how is our body scheme and in the space, so how we sense our body in the space. Beth, you have a question? Yes?
I come to A and S.
So autonomic nervous system. So as opposed to the central nervous system, which is the one that we can command. So the part that we can command, this is the autonomic part. So as I said, the Polyvagal Theory divides in three systems. So you see it in this ladder. This is from Debdana. So the sympathetic, which is mobilization, the fight and flight response. I'm in danger, or I need activity, so I need to do something. Then when I cannot do something, I'm going to shut down. That's the dorsal, that is rather new in the normal understanding of the nervous system, but also what is also very new is the idea of ventral vagal, which is the nerve which goes into the face and into the thorax, that they are connected with the heart, with the lungs, and this is part of our social engagement system. Okay, so that's the one that slow down the systems to say, okay, I'm safe again. So with that comprehension, all the different theories, all different methodologies that I practice are, let's say, backed up or with that in mind. And every time we would meet, I will constantly be reading that in our relationship, in your physiology, in mind, etc., etc. Okay, so the first, let's say, concept that I want to share with you, or the other concept I want to share with you, is coming from Peter Levine with Somatic Experiencing, which is the main practice, is that trauma is not event. Trauma is what is in the nervous system. So we oftentimes we think that people come to me, I need to work with my trauma. Okay, first of all, there's an identification with my trauma, and secondly, it's like about the story. And in fact, we cannot do anything about this story. We cannot do anything about the past. But what we can do is see how these events they're showing up today in your nervous system, in your identity, in your emotional system, and see how we can update that, how we can make something different and something that it wasn't what it was at the time, instead of reenacting over and over. This is where trauma starts to show up. I always think of trauma like, or I mentioned like it's like a process in the computers when they are like blocked. You don't see it, but it's like hanging your computer, something like that. So with somatic experiencing, we aim to discharge this emotional charge that is somehow trapped in the body. And not only with somatic experiencing, but with all the different modalities that I use, technology, I said. Particularly, in terms of somatic experiencing, we want to somehow and TRE mobilize, so release that adrenaline that it was not mobilized, so that we can somehow discharge. We speak about discharge. What somehow got locked into our nervous system or into our body at the moment of trauma. Okay, so what do we do in somatic experiencing? We practice body sensations with a concept called felt sense, a little bit what I invited at the beginning. So it's not about imagining you have roots and visualization of colors and these kind of things, which take you somehow away to the neocortical part, but more into the interoception and proprioception of how I am here. So I'm feeling what I'm feeling. I'm not thinking what I'm supposed to feel. So it's a felt sense, it's something that is present. We also practice through another concept from Porges, which is co-regulation. So the fact that another human is there is creating an impact in the relationship. And the way I talk, my presence, how I am sitting now, as I'm sitting here, I'm sensing my feet, I'm sensing my throat, I'm monitoring my voice, I'm aware of what's happening, and I'm also trying to be in connection with you. And even almost like energetically, this is like a field that is created between us. Okay, so we in somatic experiencing explicitly, we want to also track the constrictions and expansion, see how this evolve and how this move. We also can do some self-touch, or we can do touch. So I might go and intervene with touch. That could be standing, we could be sitting on the massage table, and we can do some movements. So today we will experience a little bit of movements. And one of the main concepts of somatic experiencing, well, there are many main concepts here, but one of them is critical and is very important for us, is that we're going little steps. We want to create capacity so that the experience can be contained. So we don't want to go like other therapists that they are kind of exposure. So you go directly to the vortex, directly to the event. We don't want that. We want to go slowly so that the person can add more traumatic material little by little as we start growing the capacity. Because oftentimes, and this happens, for example, when people go to certain practices, like nowadays are very common, like all these spiritual practices, which include systems and practices, which somehow the way is to push towards something. And in fact, they work very well, because the things that they need to be released, but we don't want to overwhelm. So sometimes people come here to my practice, and it's not just that they discover something in an ayahuasca ceremony, but also the event is already re-traumatizing. So it's a kind of twice re-traumatization, a concept that we know re-traumatization we want to avoid, is what they discovered and how this event came and was held. There was no containment for that internally and externally. You're all alone with that. The relational part is quite important. So that's the co-regulation part. So the concept we summarize in this, less is more. So we go little by little. So, all right. So the main, let's say, purpose of the, well, it's not the main, but let's say the excuse, I'd say, from the program is TRE. So it's one of the practices that I do. So this is called tension stress releasing exercises. So it's a technique proposed by David Berceli. So you can buy the books, you can see the information online, but it's always very recommendable. I would say I would prefer that if you start with a practitioner. But what we do is simply to access with a very simple methods to access a body mechanism. So it's a reflex through intentionally exercises to release tension and trauma and stress without need to go into the stories. Basically, a reflex that we call neurogenic tremors or neurogenic vibration, which is a self-healing, self-regulating reflex that is common to all mammals, including humans. And this mechanism, the tremor, supports the nervous system to discharge the stored energy that was locked during moments of trauma. And so we go from this freeze mode, this dorsal mode, towards flow. And that's what we want to promote in a way. Okay, and the idea, the same way we would do with somatic experiencing in a completely different way, but the same principle. So that helps to restore balance, regulation, and the felt sense of calm, which we call in biology homeostasis. All right. So yeah, so let's stop here for a moment. That has been a lot already. So I want to stop here. The first exercise or the first practice would be simply to start tapping yourself. So you can tap yourself either with a fist, wait a second, with a fist, with the fingers, or with the hands. All right? So the first thing would be just to start, you know, having some tapping in your body. So with the upper part, the hands, the fist, chest, going to one arm, one to the other. You can go to the fist if you want, and then you can also go to the pelvic area. So going to the back, gently to the back, and the buttocks. You can start going down to your legs, your thighs. You can watch your thighs. Gently with the hands, your calf muscles, even with the fingers, your feet. Both one leg and then the other. You can come back. So again, belly gently, the hand and the face with the fingers. You can tap. And relax. And as you notice your feet, also sensing your posture, sensing the air around you, sensing the sounds that we did before. See what do you notice now as you are connecting to that? How is your breath? How is your posture? Is it leaning forward or is it more towards? Just without changing, just simply see how your perception of yourself is in the space, on the skin, on the border, towards the exterior and inside. All right. So the other thing that I would like to share with you. So I'm going to explain you a little bit, and then we will do it together. So I would like you to open your arms like a T, like this, and then you will use your hands. One movement will be towards the back, so you can open chest. Your chest is open. That's one movement, and the other movement will be the other way around.
without pushing, but just going like rolling into you. Okay, so we can do this movement together. So you use your hands to go first, to go towards the back and sensing that your head's going down without forcing the back, sensing your chest, your shoulders, and then going the opposite way. So rolling towards center, and then seeing your body wants to roll, your head goes down. Watch your breath, just sense your breath. And then you do it a second time. So opening up without forcing, and then going one more time towards the front, like rolling, like it's directing your body to roll your head, and then you go down as you follow that movement without the hands. Just see if you can continue following the movement until it's comfortable for you. So going down, sensing your head, sensing your feet. And then from that position, without forcing to go down super low, I'm gonna invite you to feel the ball of your feet, so the big part of your feet on the front, and push the floor. As you pushing the floor, is from that place that you start rolling back up, like you're pushing the floor from the feet, and that's the force that you use in order to go up little by little. Little by little, you can close your eyes and do that. And as you come back to standing, you continue pushing, and then you feel like you're pushing, but also a thread on the head is pulling you towards the ceiling. And then you can move your hands, move your elbows, move your ankles, and coming back to the screen. Okay, so the last exploration that we're gonna, it's more than an exercise, it's an exploration. So I'm gonna invite you to think about putting your feet shoulder apart, and you're gonna bend your knees. So you're gonna bend your knees, bending the knees, and with that posture, you try to be perfectly still. Sorry, you want to be as still as possible. All right? You can close your eyes, or you can keep the eyes open. Then you straighten the legs again. You shake a little bit. And then you're gonna go a little bit more towards the hip. So hips apart. So you pull your feet, hips apart, and then you do the same. You bend your knees, and then you try to be still. And just notice how your body reacts to this. Okay, and then a third time you can come back to the group and then shake a little bit the legs. And then we're gonna go one step further. So we're gonna put the feet very close to each other and the legs close to each other. And you're gonna bend your knees a little bit and then try to be perfectly still, like a pole, like very perfectly still, and see how it is for you to do that. And what do you notice when you're trying to do that? All right, so then coming back to center, shaking the legs, and we can come back to sitting. All right, so we go to the video now. Just better sleep, less anxiety, less pain, feeling more, vitality or complete. Natural mechanism, innate mechanism that is common to all mammals, including humans,
in which we allow the body to shake and to tremor, to vibrate, in order to release all the stress chemicals and the tensions in the body which are left after a stress situation. My name is Fabrizio Carrizales. I am Venezuelan and I am integrative somatic coach. Well, TRE stands for Tension, Stress and Trauma Releasing Exercises. It's a body technique, so it's a series of 7 exercises developed by Dr. David Berceli. And here we are going to invite the participants to do some stretching and some fatigue in order to activate a healing mechanism that we call neurogenic vibrations or neurogenic tremors that will help the people to arrive to a place of calm, that we call in biology homeostasis, which is a 7-week program in which I accompany people to develop their practice. So I combine TRE as a main focus to develop, to discover and to develop eventually the autonomous practice, the independent practice, but I also combine with other techniques such as mindfulness and somatic experience. Right. So yeah, so one of the things that I forgot about TRE is that one of the main intentions of David Berceli was to create a tool so that people can use it without anyone. So that developing the autonomous practice is part of the intention, but is not an objective as such for me. Is like if someone comes to me after 7 weeks and say, listen, I didn't practice because I don't feel safe, I would say that's an achievement. So you, instead of forcing themselves to feel safe with that, from the mental point of view, to discover emerging, okay, this is not good for me, this is already, a success. Better sleep. Okay, so for those of you who don't know the exercise, if you haven't seen them, so just a short video of 40 seconds of me on the beach, showing a little bit the movement so that you are aware of what they are. So basically we do some stretching and they seem to be like some fatigue, some ear stretching, the back. This is similar to yoga, but they have different intentions. We work into creating tension and distension, and this is the moment in which we activate the tremor. And this was like 5 years ago. So that was the shaking that I had at the time. And this is not me doing it consciously, it's just a response. So that would be the purpose, to do certain exercises, to go there, to allow the shaking, and to eventually be comfortable with it and see how your body and what is the effect on that. And this is like accessible to everyone, but everyone is different, and the way we relate to that is very unique. We want to, and that's one of the main differences. A little bit when I start going into the program, this is the main difference of how I practice. Some people come to me like, I want to do TRE. Okay, first, wait a second, let's have a first session, see how it is, and perhaps on the first session we realize that in fact they just wanted to have a tool, any tool, to get rid of something, and in fact the bottom line is different. So I hold that into perspective when facilitating the program. And TRE is one of the tools, and the magic is something that you can have for yourself for life. But yeah, it's a little bit more rich than a magic pill. Okay, so then we go to transition to developmental trauma. So a little bit of continue to share. You share my screen, yeah. So I practice three, but I want to speak about 2. So there's a book, and these people, they were Sept, so they were somatic experiencing practitioners, trainers, and then they of course they noticed that, as I did, that somatic experiencing doesn't include directly the attachment part, so they developed their own ways. So and they did first they did the book, and then they developed 2 different modalities, but they are somehow intertwined. So NARM, NeuroAffective Relational Model from Lawrence Heller, and NeuroAffective Touch from Dr. Aline Lapierre. Okay, so you can buy the book, and it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful model. And this is, I never speak about what it is in the book, but we speak about how they show up today, and we work with that. I mean, it's like in a background. Instead of having like a model, for example, attachment. That's why I don't use attachment theory anymore from there, because you start focusing on whether you are anxious or avoidant or disorganized, and that starts to be in the way for me. So this is a different approach to understand the dynamics of relational in relation to yourself and your self-image, etc. So NARM is a framework of working with developmental trauma, so relational, and stems from childhood basically, and from even before we even talk. So we focus on naming these survival strategies, as I mentioned, that once helped us, but now they're keeping us stuck. Okay, so what is important is we work with any technique here and now. This story can come, but we're focusing in here and now. And how is it for you to tell me that? And what do you notice as you're telling me that? And so we can go to the past, but trying to always bring the present moment and the adult in ourselves, because that part of us, it exists and it's physiological. It's somewhere that we still feel powerless, because that was the reality at the time, for example. So we want to access that, but without going caught to going too much into the story, and more to name the patterns and see how they show up here, and perhaps updating the pattern, see how, okay, yeah, so yeah, so that we work by bringing awareness to the way, basically, that we connect and disconnect to our emotions and the body, ourself and our relationship. So the process of connection, disconnection, in the same way that we do with somatic experiencing, we're tracking the capacity of the person to stay with certain discomfort and disconnect, and then name, and then go back, and then the relationship. I mean, it's a process that for people who have done things, session with me, it's difficult to track for you because you are in your process, but I'm having all that in the background. So the idea is that we support the return of our natural capacity for regulation. It's like there's a paradox in us. We want connection, but the very connection is scary for that. So we play with that, and we name that whatever has been built, in order that we can connect to our regulation, our sense of agency, a sense that I can do this. Maybe I couldn't do when I was 5 years old when this happened, but now I can relate differently. So that brings our agency, and it's something that is not happening to me, but it's something that is happening in me. That I recently created this post with this idea, which is kind of it's easily said, but it's difficult to go there. I mean, it's quite easy to start blaming, yeah, because of this, because of the government, because of the Trump, because of my mom, because. And then you're a victim of what's happening to you instead of what's happening in you. How do I relate to that? When was the first time that I felt that injustice, or being not heard, or not being validated, whatever is happening to us today? And oftentimes we create an identity. Well, not oftentimes. Every time we create this, from this survival patterns, we create this identity, which feels monolithic. I am. So I am perfectionist. I'm a good person. I am a happy person. And when you try to work on that, and what you would have is a defense, because you wouldn't want your identity to be. It's like, it feels like you're gonna disappear. Or when you start connecting to anger, people would say things like, yeah, if I connect to anger, I'm not a bad person, or I feel I will destroy everything. It goes like this childhood consciousness of kind of magical things happening. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into that. Perhaps the only thing that it shows up clearly in when I'm using NARM is we want the client to start naming what is their intention, what do they want to work, and how today's today's state is somehow what is that part of them today that is in the way to go to that state that they want to achieve, or the typically the objective is typically looking for a state. So we name an objective, or we name an intention, but typically we try to deconstruct what is really what I'm looking for, what I'm longing, and what is in the way for me to be there today. And we want to promote the sense of agency, as I mentioned, something that is happening in me and not something that's happening to me. For example, I can do something about it without the self-shaming or self-blaming, which is, some of us have this pattern very strongly, and this is the opposite of agency. Or saying everything is my responsibility, or I can do everything for everyone. So that's we'll call that autonomy strategy. So I can do everything. The way we build that, but that's not true agency. And the idea is that contacting the patterns, contacting emotions, contacting body, that help to start loosening power in us, loosening grip, and little by little we start having a new relationship towards the subject that somehow they are difficult today. Okay, and there is another way that I work, and this is using two parts. So it's a verbal part. We're using explicitly what we call the body-mind dialogue, as I already did, but also using touch, and it's a attuned and relational touch. It's a body-centered approach, NeuroAffective Touch, which you use touch, but we also use pillows, as you can see here. They are heated pillows like this. You have like heart shape, and then this allows us to access in a different realm our physiology, and we stay present. It's not a massage, or it's like the person is engaged and we ask questions and we see how things appear as we start touching even parts of our body that they were never touched before. And new things start to emerge, and we name them, we stay with them, we have a special language to work with that, and this is typically for things that happen to us very little. So what we call the pre-verbal trauma. Okay, so we support in relational wounds that they are in that stage. Typically, they stem from that time. So it's either lying or sitting. And as I said, it combines somatic presence, meaning touch, or with the pillows. Sometimes pillows are the bridge before having touch, like with another human. Sometimes having touch with another human is quite dangerous. And instead of pushing, like people will say, yeah, what do you want? Yeah, you're the expert. Oh, we explore. So how is it for you now? What is happening is if you see the table. Well, and then, being aware, and we go little by little. I mean, I had that someone who was sent by ChatGPT, and then it's like, no. Well, we cannot shortcut our way out of our process. So it helps to rebuild the sense of safety, an internal safety that is really into our tissues and our organs and our skin, and the sense of boundaries, and the sense, and this is really magical for those who have experienced, to sense really, like people say, like in one of the first sessions, typically we say, I feel supported, like I feel like I can let go, like, not from a mental point of view, something that is in the body that it's really embodied. Okay, so just this is a quote for me. So where words aren't enough, the body speaks. And then with NeuroAffective Touch, I feel, this is at least my feeling, that it is finally heard in a completely different way. When we are kids, when we are babies, we're not able to talk. We're not able to do anything. We just have our basic senses, our basic skin, the senses, the energetics, and this is where we are tapping into with this work. It's a very gentle and very delicate work. Okay, so just to finish in terms of the methodologies, I have another kind of methodology that I use, I would say rarely, but it's available. And some people, again, I want to do SSP. Wait a second, let's have a first session, and perhaps we go there. And perhaps I include it in the process with certain people. So one is the Safe and Sound protocol. It's another way to tap into the vagus nerve by tensing up the middle ear. So it is supposed to work in facilitating co-regulation, social engagement. The protocol is just the music. It's 5 hours. That's not the protocol, but the way we do it is completely unique to your system, to the way the person is, to the relationship. You can have together. I prefer together. People can do it as also at home. Combination. We can do 1 hour. Almost never, but we can have even like minutes in every session. Okay. So it's not a magical pill like anything that I do, or a music for relaxation. In fact, it's another way to tap into the nervous system as things happen. Like, some clients would have the thing for 1 hour and say, oh, it's just music. Then on the third hour, they say, well, that was something. Or that person is not really attuned to their sensations, and we want to be attuned to the sensations. And some other people would have, after 2 minutes, like, oh, it's really warm, my ears are heating up. Oh, we pause, we work with whatever is happening sensorially, with exercises, etc., etc. So again, it's another way to tap into the vagus nerve. So this is the picture of the vagus nerve, and this is filter music. It's attuned to the frequencies of the human voice, and it's tensing up the middle ear so that we don't attune to lower frequencies, which are the ones for predators. Like imagine that like a drum, and the drum is not tense up completely. It was like blah, 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 blah. So if our middle ear is like that, so we're tense, we are attuned to those sounds. Instead, when it's tensing up, it's attuned to the sound that it needs to be, which is for us is human relationship, the human range of the voice, which is promoting human relationship. Yeah. And the last slide for the methodologies, I hope, is the Rest and Restore. Is a new protocol, and this protocol was launched a few months ago. It is 4 hours, and the idea is that it's for interoceptions, to sense more your body, and that's the purpose. And it uses a concept which is called entrainment, which is by the music and using the middle ear, using the sound, you're accessing the vagus nerve, and then the body will start mimicking those rhythms. So the music is using rhythms which are natural to the body. And then you would, I mean, at least I felt many things, moving in a way that it was completely different to what I was experiencing before. So it's like they speak about dancing, like when people start dancing, and then somehow they synchronize. So with the music, you synchronize, your body would synchronize to that music, and something can emerge. So we want to promote to support self-regulation, the sensorial safety in terms of interoception, that I can feel my sensation and feeling okay with that. And it is a complement to all the different therapies, and including the Safe and Sound protocol. Okay, another exercise, but this is a bit different. This is this is a sensorial exercise, but I will invite you to focus on sensorially and emotionally, and of course thoughts will come, but just to be aware of that. So I'm going to show you some pictures, and then you just track what's happening in you when you see the pictures. Okay, I think it's just the first picture. You just notice as you are seeing that, perhaps the mind is telling you things. Okay, recognize, or I don't like it, or I like it. And as your mind is telling you all that, just notice, checking with your body, how your body is doing, how those messages are linked to your body. Then there's another here, and then there are different elements, different textures, different colors. See how your breath, your chest, your belly, your mind relates to that, what story creates. And as the story unfolds, check in with your body. Another one. And immediately you will have, oh, I want to be there. This remind me of this. So there's a story that for sure is coming, and just sense the colors, the openness, the sharpness of the scenery. See how this affects or impacts you. Is it comfortable, uncomfortable? Do you feel safe? Do you feel in danger by looking at this picture? And then this one. Seeing the clouds, the watery movement, the sun there. Is there an emotional tone that comes? Perhaps nostalgia, perhaps anger, and perhaps a memory.
Hi.
Yeah. And we have some, yes. All right. So finally, the purpose is, to introduce the program. So the first thing is embodying, and I want to perhaps that you think about what embodiment means to you. I don't know if someone wants to participate, but yeah, what comes to mind with the word embodiment? And just give a pause to see how you relate to that word. And specifically, I am more attracted now to use two words. One is bodyfulness instead of mindfulness, opposed to mindfulness, and corporalité in French, which has a different quality for me as opposed to embodiment. Is still very conceptual, but it's more about the way I see what embodiment is. And embodiment for me, it is to feel what I truly feel in this very present moment. Not having images or to have a concept, but really feeling what I'm feeling. So not imagining, which is many of the visualizations and many of the practices is about imagining. It's really bottom up. I'm there already. When it's felt, you're already there. So I'm not imagining or thinking what I should. That's typically on the way instead of embodiment. So it's a shift from managing or performing in a certain way or expecting certain things, but to live and to be open up to have a lived experience, an embodied and bodily driven experience. And coming to home as it is. Many of us, we want our body, our experience to be calm, to be nice, to be lovely, but oftentimes this is what is keeping us away from what we want, which is to also acknowledge that there's a part that is tender, there's a part that is messy, there's a part that wants to be mobilized, that is sometimes uncomfortable to have this aliveness in us. So the idea is that is a progressive process. So it's 4 workshops. So in this workshop, we will experience a little bit of what I experienced today during 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, and then we go to the practice. That will be 3 encounters of 3 hours, 3 hours and 15 minutes. Then we will have 2 encounters of with an online follow-up, which we will go into checking in and see how the practice is, but also to include some of the exercises that I'm including you here. So to develop this awareness, this sensorial awareness in your daily life. So we call the integration sessions. So it's a small group, only 12 people maximum. So as I said, include guided practices.
I know.
Sorry?
Chat messages.
Okay. Yes, I will record the video, no problem. Right. Are you leaving? I guess, are you leaving, Beth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. And we hear from you later on. All right, so the group, yeah. So the idea is that it's not just a typical TRE class, like you go to the gym or you go to, to one of my colleagues that they do regular classes. It's a container, it's a process. That's a main difference. It's a relational container. And I'll be there to support you. I will be sending you some reflections or like some questions so that you can reflect on, send me. And this is all optional, all invitational. There's no obligation to do that, but it's a process together to be lived together. So TRE is, as I say, the thread, the red thread is an excuse to develop a practice, to try at home, but it's getting in contact with the concept of trauma, nervous system, how you relate to that through all these practices that we did today, for example, this kind of practice, and TRE as a very concrete practice. So as again, it's TRE and somatic experiencing the main focus. So I am not really teaching anything about NARM or anything, because I mean, it's not about teaching this thing, it's about experiencing, but I hold that into perspective when interacting with you, when you ask questions, and the way I interact and the way I would eventually intervene in the group is always through the lenses of understanding the relational dynamics of developmental trauma. Okay, so everything is about the body and the Polyvagal Theory concepts, about co-regulation, about feeling safe in a group. Or trying to feel that, to lean to that if it's too threatening today. So not forcing you to do anything, like hugging or whatever. I mean, it's something that it's really attuned to you. So it's a group setting, but it's nothing but to connect to what's safe for you today in this setting. So you always be invited to practice at home. This is an optional thing, but every time you practice will be different. Every time, wherever you practice, it will be different experience as well. Whether you do it alone with someone or in group, will be different. And moments to reflect with me through email exchanges and questions and answers, also during the 2 follow-up sessions. So this is very important. So instead of promising results, I'm inviting you to explore. To be open to explore and to notice, to experience what shifts when you meet the body with these lenses of compassion and curiosity, and with all these concepts that somehow they will start and maybe already started mobilizing things in you. So in this journey, you will be invited to meet your body and to meet your nervous system with curiosity. You will learn about the stress and tension response with the different approaches, TRE, SC, and Polyvagal Theory, discovering progressively the practice. So I will be including little by little concepts, like, for example, the breath, how to experience grounding, the nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic activation, in how this shows up in our practice. Eventually, touch. I may touch some people, will introduce self-touch, and I will really attune to what's happening in the group. So it's I have a script, let's say, but the way I facilitate it really depends with the group, and I think that's the basic of the TRE practice as well. Yeah, so noticing the effect of resource, connection, co-regulation, being in a group, being with someone instead of doing everything on your own. So stepping into integrating little by little. So yeah, this may be a good fit if you have certain patterns, you repeat certain discomforts, you know that you know better, but the patterns are still there. So it's an opportunity to to learn a little bit more and to be curious about how these modalities and then this space can be, can meet those difficulties and see how they can shift or not. So so one thing that is important about TRE and about this process is that we don't need to work into our stories. I mean, if you want to tell a story, that's up to you, but it's not needed. I mean, we are focusing more into the experiential, the sensing, the body, the here and now, as we did today. So even if you're familiar, and I guess Jana, you are familiar with TRE, maybe is a different way to practice and to be supported. That's one of the things that I don't like in TRE by default in the school, let's say, is that somehow the self-regulation, it gets in the way, as in kind of isolating ways. Like, we also need support, we also need touch, we also need to be witnessed, and that's something that is missing, this part. And most of us, including me, I mean, long for shaking groups and and have some support as well, instead of letting the body magically do something. So if you're also a professional, that's also good. So I have a line for you, Borana. Indeed, that if you're a professional but you want to include certain, it would be a really nice idea to step into this without the need to go into, okay, I am the professional, I'm doing this for my client. Just experience it for you. How is it to experience it and give yourself this opportunity? Okay, so that's not a good fit if you want to have a quick solution. I would love to have those, but at least in my world, they don't exist. It's not a standard theory class. There are many people who are doing that. So if you prefer not to go to the body, well, this is not the place. If you want to keep on the mind and the cognition and the story, and you need to sense that if you are ready to go into this, setting slowly, and being present with the group for that. Also, if there's a part of you that is very strong, like you want results. Just checking on that, and that's not the idea. So instead of being result oriented, to if you're open to start being more exploratory about your own journey and that is unique, then this is for you. And I don't remember what was the practice number 4. Yeah, I'm not gonna do the practice number 4. I'm gonna go directly to the last slide. The last slide is basically the details. So the registration closes the practical details on the 21st of September. So I only do the program if I have 5 participants. I still need some to complete that. Well, 1, in fact. So if you're not ready to do the full program and you want to just discover TRE, that's also possible. So we have, I have the first session to be, one of exploratory for discovering theories. That's what you want. So when you register in the website, you can do that. That's the cost for client. Well, the existing client has some discount. Also, people who did the discovery sessions in the last 2 years. And if you come with the 2 people, then the price is slightly lower. So the idea is that you go to the website, you register, you have a deposit, so a first part. Then I will come back to you and send you a little questionnaire if you're a new client, and with consentment. And then eventually, normally should be okay. And then I will invite you to, I will confirm your place, and then you will be invited to pay the rest of the investment. Okay, so I want to finish with a quote that I made that I'm getting more like my motto to my practice. So our bodies